Louw Steytler, Chairman of Grain SA. A salubrious position, a position I suppose after all the years, if you look at your family history, that it was going to happen one day that you were either going to go into politics or you were going to stay in the farming field. Do you ever regret not going to politics?
No, never.
Your father was a huge politician.
My father gave his entire professional career and his life to the voice of reason, non-racialism and justice for all. And it has served us and held us in good stead because we, the rest of our family, have learnt by that very example in which way we should project ourselves and conduct ourselves in a non-racial society that we now have in South Africa.
I was amazed to learn just recently that your father was a doctor.
Yes, qualified at Guy's Hospital in London and came back when London was bombed, joined the South African Air Force and was mentioned twice in dispatches for bravery.
Why was he a moderate, do you think?
Because he understood the aspirations of normal people, because he came from the agricultural community in which he was subjected to the hardships that were endured by both Afrikaners, English-speaking South Africans, and of course our black countrymen in the rural areas, and that played a huge role in his thinking of justice, equality, and human dignity. I'm deeply concerned to the levels of racism that are now practiced in South Africa. And I just appeal to the voice of reason, because the voice of reason is held by all kinds of South Africans over the colour line and the culture line. And I maintain that the majority of us are still pretty reasonable people, and that these reasonable people will determine the future of South Africa. Well, I started at Free State Agriculture some 10 years ago as the president, and we instilled constitutional economic argument as the premise of departure within the greater debate, something that has stood us in good stead. In actual fact, that has been an example, in our opinion, to other institutions within the ambit of organized agriculture. My chairmanship of Grain South Africa was determined by the membership on a democratic basis, and they chose to elect the verligte. I speak 3 languages, and I am committed totally and utterly to the future of South Africa. We serve to uphold the Constitution and economic fact. And the reality is that that is the premise of departure within the debate, within the confines of Grain South Africa, as it was within the confines of not only Grain South Africa, but Free State Agriculture.
What about the black farmers? Have you been able to attract them to your philosophy?
Yes, we have. We have. There will always be a divide between the new entrants into the agricultural sector who see the future very socialistically, as to the commercial farmers and my own interpretations of the economic model of free marketeerism. There will always be a clash, but as long as we adhere to the principles as set out in the Constitution, I think that we can find the common ground to go forward.
And what about the verkrumpters? The diehards?
Well, even those individuals understand that we need to negotiate, that we need a premise of departure other than race in itself.
There is, of course, as one always looks at life, there's always a cloud somewhere hanging. And the cloud at the moment appears to me to be the government that doesn't seem to want to take that leap of faith with you. Why do you think that is?
Well, it is based on mistrust.
Founded?
To an extent, yes, on our historical past. which we are simply now, by virtue of the mannerisms of our argument and the way that we conduct ourselves within the greater civil society, will be changed. What we need is for people within the confines of government to take the same stances that we have taken and to engage with Grain South Africa, so that we can change the very philosophies and the historical differences that we've inherited.
But that's not happening, is it? Well, it's not happening anywhere near as fast as you would like it to.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't happening fast enough because I think that the mistrust is so deeply ingrained that it's going to be a major task, take us a major effort to change that. But those perceptions will go, and what we're all looking for is the voice of reason, both constitutionally and economically, will prevail.
If you had one thing you would like to say to Tina Joemat-Pettersson, our Minister of Agriculture and Forests and Fisheries, and you were talking to that camera and that was Tina herself, what would you be saying to her right now?
I would say, Minister, come and join us, because we are going to succeed in creating an environment out there wherein all South Africans across the colour line can join and be partake in the national economy and in the agricultural economy, and in so doing address the plight of the poorest, and by virtue of our ability to value add agricultural produce, create jobs and address the poverty levels that are so critically damaging to South Africa and to the people.
I can almost read her mind and thinking, why should I trust you? It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course it is. The reality is that what we need them to do as much as we need to do is to get to understand and to know the people she's dealing with.
Isn't it a leap of faith that has to be taken?
Well, in that too. It is in exactly the same fashion that we've taken this leap of faith with our progressive thinking within the confines of Grain South Africa, that we need to be emulated by people in government.
You know, we talk about this leap of faith that you've taken, and I do see it. I must be honest, I personally do see it, but there's no question that there's been no foot forward on the land reform situation, which is, let's not argue about it, the biggest sticking point between the two of you.
The reality is that all South Africans squandered the window of opportunity that President Mandela left us with. And in the Mandela era, there was cooperation between peoples. We've lost that. We no longer cooperate, we rather bicker about each other and slander each other behind closed doors. We need a return to the inclusive mannerisms and policies of President Mandela, in which all South Africans were engaged across the colour lines. And the reality is that we cannot operate and be successful in silos of colour, that we need to return back to those processes of President Mandela, because we will, in that way, attain the necessary successes that we so need.